Welcome to the WACO Experience, an American story.
We, the people.
With your host, D. Scott Smith.
In order to form a more perfect union.
Interviews with leaders in business, government, and nonprofit organizations.
Promote the general welfare.
Jobs, products and services, and infrastructure for strong communities. Secure
the blessings of liberty.
The WACO Experience is an American story, a story of communities across America. It is your story.
PCs are a big part of everybody's lives nowadays. Research the kind of things that you'll need as far as devices go. Make sure you know what you're looking for. And if you don't, that's what people like me are here for, is to direct you, put you in the right direction so you know you don't need a $1,500 computer to go to your Zoom meeting.
Today's guest on the WACO Experience, an American story, Jordyn Hamilton, owner of WACO PC Repair. We'll talk about the American dream of home ownership and being a business owner with this 22-year-old man. I'm your host, D. Scott Smith. You can learn more about this program and sponsors and find links to the podcast version of this program online at thewacoexperience.com. We do have the best sponsors: White Bluffs Construction, custom building, home remodeling, and I encourage you, call Seth at 254-227-2002 and schedule White Bluffs Construction to build your patio, deck, or pergola. Visit their website, whitebluffsconstruction.com. Medicare open enrollment is ending March 31st. Call Monica Shannon of Texas Healthcare for You at 254-339-3421. Monica has answers to your healthcare insurance questions. Visit the website txhealthcareforyou.com. That's txhealthcare, the number 4 and the letter U.com. Biddy & Bo's Coffee offers hot and cold beverages, catering, and provides employment for people with disabilities. Stop by today at 110 Franklin in Waco. Chord Buddy is the world's best way to learn guitar. 100% U.S. made, this learning system will have you playing real music on a real guitar right away. Learn to play guitar today at chordbuddy.com. Comic Fest Waco is coming April 5th to University High School. Free and open to the public, this event is all about literacy. This event will be packed with well-known artists and authors. Follow them on Instagram at Comic Fest Waco. D. Scott here, and we are on location at WACO PC Repair in East Waco at 420 Dallas Street. It's this kind of cool brick building, a location that's a little bit hard to find. And I'm here with Jordyn Hamilton. He is the owner, proprietor. He is a PC repair master, and we're going to talk about some of the other passions like Pontiac Fieros, which is kind of cool. But Jordyn, let's go ahead and have you give an introduction about yourself.
I appreciate it, Scott. Thank you for having me. Yeah, there's not a huge amount to say. I haven't been in this world very long. I'll be 23 this year. I have about 8-9 years of experience in the PC business, not necessarily repair, but just working on them in the free time. I got introduced to computers in high school, and it's been, we'll say, a rabbit hole ever since. I started doing the repair last year when I opened the business, March 2024, right when I moved here to Texas. It's been one wild ride.
We'd mentioned the address. It's 420
Dallas Street.
Dallas Street here in Waco. What about the website? How do people find the website and your phone number in case they want to talk to you?
Very, very easy. It's WACOPCRepair.com. That'll take you right to our homepage. Or if you look up WACO PC Repair on Google Maps, we're usually the third results, as opposed to, the other PC repair shops that have been here a lot longer than me. Only have, I think, about 5 reviews right now, but it should pop up. It's WACO PC Repair and Supply now. Our primary business is the sales side. I kind of do the repair as a side business, low volume. I don't do any advertising. It's really just something to keep the bills paid. Our primary focus is sales, bulk sales, individual sales for desktop, laptop components, and so forth.
So to give people just a little visual here, we're in this building, floor to ceiling, wall to wall. You've got racks. We're surrounded by PCs and monitors. I will say I have been in many PC repair places, people who are doing refurbishing. This is very orderly.
So it's a fantastic system that I most definitely didn't steal from my previous employer, we'll say. I worked in electronics recycling for about a year prior to moving to Texas. And that was the primary business model when I got here. It was supposed to be an electronics recycling facility. Moved into a 6,000 square foot unit, was taken in recycling. And the idea is you have a lot of businesses that have annual budgets and they need to use those budgets or they lose them. So they'll upgrade their hardware annually, biannually, whatever their timeline is. We'll come in, we'll offer to take that hardware off their hands instead of letting it sit, waiting to go to auction. Of course, they'll get some money off auction, but sometimes they just really need that space and need to get those devices out of there. So what we would do is go pick up those devices completely free, no charge to either party. Our removal fee would be those computers, which we can then refurbish, resell. That business, not a great market in Texas, come to find. That's why we're in this smaller 1,400 square foot unit now. So what I do mostly is auction lots. I'll go to governments, schools, large businesses that are offloading all their hardware and buy that industry hardware that's fantastic for aftermarket use. They might be a little expensive when they're new, but here we are 3, 4, or 5 years down the line and they're still fantastic hardware. They were made to be enterprise level, but now they're about what the modern consumer level is at. So they're very useful for your average everyday use, even though they were top of the line for their day.
So let's talk about the business model you have. The location here is great for what you're doing. This is not a retail location. So this is not the Mac store that people are going to come into and do their shopping there. Right. Probably do shopping online. A lot of your business is distance. Talk about how that works.
So yeah, a majority, I would say up to 95% of our sales are outside of Texas. In states all over the U.S., I do only service lower 48, but we have had some sales to U.S. territories, Alaska, Puerto Rico. Don't do those for a majority of reasons anymore, but we have serviced a lot of outside of Texas business. So the main avenue of sales is eBay. I have an eBay store that'll give you the full list of current available stock that's tested, has descriptions, photos. That's where you get to look at everything. We do local sales as well. You can purchase through the eBay store and come pick up locally, or what I would prefer is contact me directly through our website, email, phone, and we do local deals, discounts, because eBay does charge a lot of fees regardless of whether it's a local pickup or not. So I'll do some advertising via Facebook Marketplace as well, Craigslist, to try to get those local sales in, because then you get a deal, I get a deal, everybody leaves happy. But I would like to service a lot more local businesses. I know there's a couple PC shops that work with, we'll say local in the sense of Central Texas. They'll service down in Killeen, Temple. If there's businesses that are looking for large numbers of computers, say a dental office, for example, these other businesses will service them directly and I'll bulk supply to those vendors.
So in my experience, I've purchased both computers directly from the retailer. I bought them online, have them delivered, and then I bought used machines. And I'll tell you, I prefer the used machine. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is it's kind of been burned in. And the other is there's a lot of advertising, there's a lot of programs on there that I don't want, I don't need, that they take up space and they're trying to get me to buy subscriptions and so forth. So let's talk about what the machines are that you sell. Desktop, laptops, what's going out the door here?
So a good example I like to make is in comparison to cars. I prefer to buy used vehicles a number of years older, at least a decade. And the thought process there is they've been tried and true, parts are available, and community support is there for those devices, cars or computers. So when we get down the line to say I have a computer that came out in 2016, we're in 2025 now. This computer will sell for maybe $80. It's a regular desktop computer. You're not looking for anything crazy. If you wanted something similar, brand new from say Best Buy, you're looking at $300 to $400 for a very, very basic computer. This isn't a gaming machine. This is just something to do Microsoft Word or Zoom calls or something like that on, when you can come in here and buy obviously a much older machine. This old machine has a lot of parts available. We offer a 30-day warranty for all used computers because sometimes they can be temperamental. I'd like to be honest about that. You never know what can happen with a used device. You got to have some sort of recourse. Even though we have a solid 30 days, if you come in, there's an issue, maybe a year down the line, I'll help you get it figured out. But it's good to know that you have parts available. I will see a lot of these new machines come in that need parts that are either not available or absurdly expensive. I did a repair on one of those all-in-one desktops recently that had a cracked screen. That screen by itself was $300. Before tax, before shipping, before the service fee, I had to charge the customer to replace the screen. And this was a computer they bought for $600 that they're now putting $500 into for a repair 1 year down the line.
This is another one of the benefits of buying a used machine. As you said, tried and true, there's parts available. About how old would you say the average machines are that are going out the door?
5 to 8 years.
And desktops and laptops, or are you doing primarily desktop machines?
I try to get as many laptops in as possible. They're the hot seller. So I have a lot of competition when it comes to those auctions to finding laptops. Primarily, I will get those desktops in from offices that are offloading all of their front desk hardware, back of house hardware. Most commercial settings don't have a lot of laptops. Maybe somebody who does field work, maybe somebody who does at-home work. The percentage is a lot higher for those desktops. We'll get a lot more of those in. So I try to get the laptops in. They sell for a lot more. They sell a lot quicker, but sometimes it's hard to find them.
For the average business, or a homeowner actually, just having a fixed desktop machine gives you a little flexibility, because if you have a monitor that you like, you can keep that, especially if you've got a large screen. Some of these really widescreen monitors that people have, they can invest a lot of money in that.
Exactly. And when we start to have issues with those screens, especially on a laptop, same thing with that all-in-one repair that I mentioned prior, those laptop screen replacements aren't cheap. Even when you come to an older laptop, some of the laptops that I sell that are 5 to 8 years old, like I said, will still have $100 or more screen just for the screen by itself, not to take into account labor. I really just recommend having a solid desktop. It's good to have a laptop if you're on the go and you need that, but having a solid at-home desktop that you can always come back to is my primary focus.
So it seems like it would be easier to repair a desktop machine than a laptop.
Most definitely.
So tell us a little bit about what that might look like. What kind of things might I replace or upgrade on my desktop machine to keep it current and relevant?
So the things to keep in mind in regards to a desktop versus a laptop as far as repair goes. Laptops are very proprietary. It's per model. Sometimes they have tons of submodels, and some parts may only be for this one particular laptop, not to mention the different brands, Dell, HP, Lenovo. It's different per brand, per model, per line. So when you need that repair done, I need to find a very specific part that may or may not be available, and I have to pay whatever price they're asking for it because it's the only part for that particular laptop. As far as desktops go, when it comes to those main manufacturers, like I said, Dell, HP, Lenovo, so on and so forth, there is a lot of proprietary there, but the main components, your central processing unit, your graphics processing unit, storage, all of that kind of stuff is universal. Whether it's a custom desktop that you spent $1,500 on, or the cheapo $200 brand new HP Stream that you bought at Best Buy. That storage is going to be the same. Typically the RAM is going to be the same, with exception to age and some submodels. For the most part, your desktop components are going to be interchangeable. And if you go from one desktop to the next, at the very least, your storage is going to be changeable. So you can have a completely different box, bring that drive to the new box, boot it up, and it'll be like your computer was the same as when you left it in the old box. Everything's in the same spot, everything runs the same, but it may be a little more efficient, or you notice it's running faster, or videos are a little clearer. It's a lot of different aspects to it.
So we talked about the desktops that you can buy here, refurbished, a lot more cost effective, able to upgrade internally as needed. I want to talk about something that might be on people's minds, and that's AI. We mentioned that these machines are going to be great for running the basic things, your word processing spreadsheets, the Microsoft Office suite, doing your video conferences, whether it's Zoom or whatever platform you might be using. Will these handle AI? You know, if I want to do my Chat GPT, tell me about that.
So AI is a bit of a loaded concept. I think of it as a concept. We'll start with those programs like Chat GPT. For the most part, those programs where you put in an input and you get a response from some website interface, it's a server-side thing. It's not any sort of hosting in your personal computer. It doesn't download any data to your personal computer. It's all handled server-side. The performance of your computer does not matter. There are some cases where you download a program that is specifically focused on AI and it runs that AI on your computer, your average user is not going to run into that use case. These computers would not be good for that. It's not an issue that most people are going to run into.
So today's guest on the WACO Experience, an American Story, we've got Jordyn Hamilton. We are here in his facility on Dallas Street in Waco, Texas, surrounded by computers, all kinds of cool things. A lot of your business is through mail that you don't sell a lot locally because when you sell out, that brings money in. That's traded sector. You're bringing more dollars in to the economy as opposed to just pushing them around. So I love that. I love that this is a traded sector business. We met at a safety class out at the Republic Gun Club. You had mentioned that you had been out here in Waco just about a year or so.
Yep.
And came from San Diego. Let's talk about your journey out to Texas and into the PC business.
We'll start with the PC business that goes back a little further. The move to Texas was, to put it bluntly, a very split decision. We're in 2025 now, so back 2016, going on about 9 years now, is when I started getting into computers. It was my freshman year of high school, and I had taken a digital arts class for web design, logo design, stuff of that nature. And this gentleman by the name of Christopher Hansen just happened to sit next to me. I guess we had gone to the same middle school, didn't know each other, and he sat next to me and started talking to me about all the computer stuff. Very big tech guy. He's 4 years into a cybersecurity degree now, and he's moving on to great things. He was a big gamer. I was into gaming at the time, but I was more of an Xbox guy. And he was telling me, hey, if you want to get into gaming on computers, it's pretty cheap to build your own computer. And looking at him like, who builds computers? That's what Dell and HP are for. You know, I didn't know that was a whole hobbyist sector, like working on race cars or fishing or any of that kind of stuff. There's big forums and groups that are dedicated to this kind of thing, and it's very easy. Your assumption would be building a computer. These things are very complicated. I can't imagine building one. A lot of the parts that go into your computers, as far as the custom ones go, they're off-the-shelf things that you can go and buy at Best Buy, or Micro Center's the big one that supports our kind of community. And I built my first computer in 2016, got into building them to sell on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist throughout high school. And then it kind of just dropped off once I graduated the COVID year, so there wasn't really a lot to do as far as anything goes. Jumped through a couple different jobs, from food service to warehouse work and car washes, pool cleaning, you name it, I've probably done it. I was a mechanic for about a year. It circled back around when Mr. Christopher got a job at an electronics recycling facility nearby to where I was living in San Diego. He got me the job there. I started working on bringing in computers, and they were doing the business model that I tried bringing out here, which was the taking industry computers that needed to be offloaded and reselling them. I would go on pickups, pick up pallets of desktops, laptops, so on and so forth, bring them back. We would test them, clean them, get operating systems loaded on them, and then we'd sell them on eBay all over the country. And that's really where I got the idea for this business, because I realized their profit margins were almost 100% bringing in these computers for free. Now, when I came to Texas, I learned it wasn't that simple. I ended up deciding to move to Texas in August of 2023. Initially had no interest in moving out of San Diego. I had lived there my whole life. I lived in a house that my grandparents owned. They weren't charging me rent. I was just paying utilities. It was a really, really nice gig. But my girlfriend at the time, her parents had bought some property out here in Fairfield. Her father's from Baytown, so they were retired Navy, decided to come back to Texas, and she really wanted to be closer to her family, and I figured, I'm 19, why not? A new start. So we came out. I came out a couple times for dropping off our stuff. I had a box truck at the time because I had started the eBay sales before we moved out here. Made a couple runs. Ended up moving here for sure in March. I'd found Waco was the closest, what I would consider a large city that wasn't Dallas. The competition in Dallas was unbelievable. I didn't want to get into that as a new business, and especially as my first business. And Waco was about an hour 20 from where we were living. And from March to January, I made that hour 20 each way from Fairfield to Waco to make this business work. Once we started getting closer to the end of the year, I realized the recycling wasn't going to work out. I switched gears to sales. Long story short, relationship didn't end up working out, and I moved out to Waco in January, and now I have full time to focus on the business.
And you also have an interest in cars.
Yeah, like I said, I was a mechanic for about a year professionally. I was lucky enough that they hired me with no experience, trained me on the job. At the time, I had gone to college for automotive technology. I was my first intro class in, and about halfway through the semester was when I got that job at the auto shop. And I decided, I do this as a job already. Why continue the degree? I did finish that class. I think I ended up getting a C in the class. But they trained me on the job, and I got to work on a lot of different cars. It was a independent shop, so we would get all makes and models. And it got me a lot of really good experience. I ended up flipping a couple cars. If I needed a cheap vehicle, I'd go buy something that was beat and broken. Ended up picking a GMC Envoy up for $1,000 with a blown head gasket. It did in my driveway, that kind of deal. But I got sick of coming home with my hands stained black, and the car that I had at the time, the interior was beige, so everything was turning gray, and it just wasn't for me.
All right, so what's your favorite car?
Favorite car? It'd have to be the Pontiac Fiero.
Okay. All right, remind people what the Pontiac Fiero is, because you can't go and buy a new one today.
The Pontiac Fiero, quite an old vehicle, a couple decades before my time. Started making it in 84, last model year was 88. Now, this was a very odd little car. It was advertised as a sporty commuter car, but it was a two-door mid-engine, thinking like your Porsche Boxsters, your Toyota MR2. That was its competition. Didn't get the funding it needed, however, so ended up getting stuck with the old Iron Duke. In the best of times, a 2.8-liter V6 pushing out 130 horsepower. But I like them. I think they're fantastic little cars. They're not the most reliable, I'll give them that. This is 80s GM we're talking about. They have a lot of aftermarket, given they've been out for more than 40 years, or almost 40 years, I should say. And there's just so much you can do with them nowadays. I think they're really fun. Now, I barely fit in them, but...
Well, the interesting thing about the Fiero is I believe they had two major body styles. They came out with the original one, and then they changed the body style before they discontinued it. In a lot of ways, it looked like a mini Ferrari.
You wouldn't be the first to say it. Now, they had the notchback, the original SE model, and the GT, which was that slicker, more sloped back model. And there was quite a number of Ferrari imitation body kits that came out over the years, and you can still find those in barnyards all over the world. Not a huge fan, in my opinion, but I see the style, I see the goal there. I would leave it just as is.
So you're saying you're more in favor of the original body style?
Correct.
All right. Okay. Well, that's good. Let's talk about a little bit about the service side. So if I were to come down and buy a machine, use it for home or for my business, are you also the person that I would call for service? If I needed upgrades, if I needed help with software or connection, what am I looking at?
Well, I would hope so. I try to offer whatever services I can in terms of helping you with your computer needs. If you just need to give me a call and ask a question, I'm got my work phone on me most of the time. Now, I don't have set hours. I am an appointment-only business, since primarily I am the sales side. The repair is more of a side business. So you would call, text, set up an appointment, or email even, and we'll get you figured out. But I do full repair, full service. If you need virus removal, you would like to upgrade your hard drive, you need more space, you're looking for performance upgrades, whatever it is, I likely have done it before and will do it again.
We're here with Jordyn Hamilton at WACO PC Repair, but WACOPCRepair.com, just so people can find that simply. Lots of machines available, good for businesses, good for homes. Some laptops, but mainly we're really looking at probably the more affordable, more flexible desktop machines. You'll do the service, so I appreciate that. And it's always good to deal with people that you know and understand, and they know you, they know the community. So that's a good thing. We've talked about autos and your passion for the Fiero. What else do you see in the future for PCs, for WACO PC Repair, and for Jordyn Hamilton?
Well, ideally, I'd like the business to continue expanding. I do have a set goal for this year for the business is to have my first employee by the end of the year. I did have an employee here temporarily last year, but it ended up getting to the point that the business was costing too much to run, especially with our older unit that was a lot higher on the rent. So I did have to let him go, but I'd like to bring him or somebody else back on board in the future just to help things run a little smoothly. I mean, it is just me here running the repair, customer service, the online store, the testing, acquisitions, everything is just me. So ideally, I'd like to get somebody in here I can train eventually to manage the shop. I'm a big travel guy. At the beginning of 2025, I went on a 2-week trip around the East Coast and didn't realize how much I loved traveling. I'd love to do something like that again or regularly. So I'd like to get it set up in a place that I can go out and travel whenever I'd like, within reason, of course, and really would like to buy a house. Just like any other American, it's one of the bigger goals of mine, and I'm looking to hopefully put a down payment on a house by mid-2026 if fate will allow me.
Well, it's funny, we were just talking about this with Window Genie in an earlier edition of this show. Home ownership, part of the American dream. Mm-hmm. I believe, and I said it in that conversation as well, that owning your own business is really a big part of the American dream. So you started with that, and now you're looking at the house, so that's cool. What about computers and PCs? Where do you see them going?
I haven't seen much change in how PCs work in the last decade. I think as time goes on, we'll just get, as far as my business in particular goes, it'll just be more industry hardware going onto market as newer stuff comes out, and it just cycles every year. We get newer and better products at the same prices.
All right, tell me about living in Waco.
Living in Waco, man, is it hot here. Both the summers are hotter, the winters are colder. Very much not what I'm used to back in San Diego. Our winters look like maybe 60 degrees at the lowest, and our summers will be lucky to get 90. So my first year here, trying to work on my car in the parking lot of my shop, and the temperature is hitting 110. I'm trying to put an oil pressure sensor in. Not a huge fan, I will say. I do not like the weather here. Love the people, love the city, love Central Texas, beautiful place. Not a fan of the weather. Will not let go of that opinion.
I don't think you're alone in that. What's some of the last thoughts that you would like to have as we wind down the show? What would you like people to know about WACO PC Repair, about owning your own business, and about looking into the prospects of the future for your own future and for the future of the community?
I guess all I can really leave off with is I'm just a guy like everybody else, just trying to get by. Whether you decide to purchase or work with me or not, PCs are a big part of everybody's lives nowadays. Whether it's the actual desktop computers, laptops, phones, smart devices, all that kind of stuff is not going away anytime soon. So at the very least, I'd like to leave off with research the kind of things that you'll need as far as devices go. Make sure you know what you're looking for. And if you don't, that's what people like me are here for, is to direct you, put you in the right direction so you know you don't need a $1,500 computer to go to your Zoom meeting.
Well, that's great. Thanks for letting me come and spend time in your shop today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
The WACO Experience, an American Story, is a production of D. Scott Smith Company, all rights reserved. Thank you for listening.